know, I'm asked all the time, how much does it cost? You know, as a car builder, that's probably the number one question I get asked. How much does it cost? So the phone rings, someone is on the other line. They say, hey, I have a 1970 Cuda. I want to have it fully restored. Can you tell me how much it's going to cost? Hey, I have a 1967 GTO, and I want to pull the engine out. I want to pull the LS in. How much does it cost? And so we come sometimes from a background of late model cars, new cars. You take your new car to the dealer, they give you an estimate, and they tell you exactly how much it costs. That's not how it works in this business. It's not how it works on the classic car shop. So let me tell you something. When you're looking to get your car built, you want to go to a builder that's going to charge you by time. Time and materials. I'm not going to lose, and you're not going to lose. It's an even swap. And if you ever pull your car, it's not a problem. You can stop your job, pull your job at any time because we're just running the clock. It's time and materials. Now, at my shop right now, we charge $100. Prices are going up, but we charge $100 at this time for our services. But what you'll find shops, I get undercut every day. I have individuals come in with, say, $75,000, $100,000. They say, hey, I want to build this car, an amazing car. I have $100,000. Can you build it for me? My answer is no, because I don't know how much it's going to cost to build your car. Then you get people say, well, you're a professional, you're an expert. You've done this before. You've built many cars. Why is it that you don't know? Every car is different. Every design is different. The inherent issues of every car is different. The products that individuals put in the car is different. It's a different process. Sometimes it's similar, but it's more times than not, it's a different process. So when you start talking about restoration, you start talking about cars, there's basically 3 levels. One level is called restoration. That's where we're going to put it back just like it was. More times than not, that's the cheaper route to go. So if you have a car with, say, a 289 engine, put the 289 back. Let's rebuild it and put it back. Now, the only time that's not true is when you're doing something that's very, very vintage, where the parts are extremely rare, and you have to put it back in original condition. Sometimes it's a little bit more. Vintage air is an aftermarket product, but if you're doing vintage air versus, say, OEM restoration of your HVAC system, to restore the HVAC system is going to be a little bit more than vintage air on some of these vintage and antique cars of that nature. But generally speaking, vintage air, if you're restoring a car, that's a more efficient and more cost economical approach on your vehicle. So, but it's all different. How much does it cost? Even when we get into vintage air, people say, well, it only takes 30 hours to put a vintage air system in. And I'd say you must never put one in before. You know, vintage air does make a certain number of what we call direct fit units. So those direct fit units, they go bolt right up under there. And maybe Rick Love might say, the president of vintage air, maybe him or Jack might say it takes 32 hours. But they're not even really going to say that. Then when you get into custom cars that vintage air doesn't make a product for, and you're doing universals, I built a reputation. I'll tell them I put a vintage air on anything. I'll put it on a bicycle. I'll put it on a moped. So oftentimes I call my contact at vintage air, and I'll tell them, hey man, I'm gonna put it in this car. What you think? They said it can't be done. I said I'll send you the pictures in a little while. So the cost factor is just about time, and our shop is built on putting things together in the right way. Sometimes I have individuals get upset with me because of what we charge or because of how we charge. Listen, I said earlier I didn't finish, but I get undercut all the time with individuals bidding on jobs. But here's what happens. So a guy's going to do one or two things, or a gal. They're either going to overbid. You have to inflate the bid to make sure you don't lose. So whatever can go wrong on a vehicle, it's not going to go wrong, but you have to, in your budget and in your mind and in your proposal, you have to take everything into consideration that could go wrong, and then you give a person a price point of, if everything went wrong, it would cost you $192,000. So my bid to you is $192,000, though the job might be $120,000. That's a big difference. But what happens more times than not, especially with the smaller independent shops with less staff, what they'll just pay the rent this month, they'll pay the mortgage this month, they'll pay the light bill, they'll buy the baby some new shoes this month. So what they'll do, they'll take a $100,000 bill and they'll tell you they'll do it to you for $42,000, just give me $25,000 up front. It's never going to happen. So people ask this question, why does my car go to a shop and it sits there for years and no one works on my car. It's real simple. Money is a motivator. And when you're getting paid by the hour, man, you are highly motivated to work on this car consistently. But when you underbid a car, a vehicle, and you bid it too low, there's basically no money. I hear stories of guys all over the country that bid cars where the parts cost more than the darn bid. It's impossible to do it. I want you to find you a shop that charges time and materials. The best way to do it. You're not going to lose, and they're not going to lose. Now, somebody said, well, how can I generally come up with a price? Okay, so I told you about those 3 deals. One was restoration. That's one approach. The next approach is what we call a Restomod. That's where we're going to add some modifications, some upgraded technology, where we're going to have to enhance the vehicle so it can support those technologies. That's going to be a little bit more. Because see, what I mean by that is when I increase the power of your car, I put an LS in there. Well, you know I don't want to use that antiquated system. So now I'm gonna want to do a new wiring harness in there. You got to do it. If I'm doing it, I'm gonna put a new wiring harness in there. But then if I beef up the power, guess what I want to beef up? I want to beef up the brakes. So when you start getting into modifications, it just get incrementally a little bit more expensive because of the supportive systems that goes with whatever it is you're modifying. So then the third level, which is the higher end level, where everybody's going now, it's called Pro Touring. And that's where you want to build a classic that can compete with a Ferrari, a brand new Feta, or Mercedes-Benz. So you want to build a car that can compete on a world stage. And so, you know, that's going to be a lot more money. So I hope this information helps. I get this question all the time. How much does it cost? How much does it cost? And the other thing I'll share with you before I let you go, I don't think it's a science to it, but here's what I've seen. If you're doing a full restoration, this is what I want you to do. I want you to write down all your parts. Get your JS catalog and go through it. Write down all the parts. If your parts come to $40,000, it's very likely your full bill is going to come to somewhere around 80. It seems like it's between 40 and 60%. When you look at the labor, you look at the parts, you got parts on this side, labor on this side, at least we do on our tickets. It seems like it's about a 40-60 split. That doesn't mean that you go buy an engine for 25, it's going to cost you 50 to put it in. It's not that exact. But if you're doing a full project, by the time you add everything up, it's going to be somewhere between a 40 and 60% split. Just depends on what's going on. So if you can get a good gauge of your products, then that's going to give you a good gauge of your end result. I can't tell you what your end result is going to be. I can't tell you what it's going to cost. But if you start talking LS engine, 6L80 transmission, you saw a nanny transmission, you start talking leather interior, ostrich interior, custom sound system, the baddest rims and tires on the market, independent front suspension, rack and pinion, 4-link. I mean, you know you up there. The money is going to be high. So what do? Instead of the LS, put the 350. I just want to give you some information today. Wanted to pause, take time, say hello to you. You give me a call when you want it done right, 832-717-0774. But I'm not going to be able to tell you how much it's going to cost. It's $100 an hour plus time and materials. Thank you. God bless you.